Okay, I just want to give a quick intro to Jon as well. Most of you probably know Jon coming from my integration background. For the since also there's a lot of newcomers. I know personally know Jon for nearly 10 years, maybe.
Probably more than 10 years.
Maybe more than 10 years. And as far as I know, I think Jon is always focused on integration, something to do with Microsoft integration.
Because I love it.
You love it, yeah, exactly. So, and he used to be MVP, and then he switched to Microsoft. He now pretty much owns Logic Apps. Is that right? Yeah. So, if you want to ask anything related to Logic Apps, related
there's a whole bunch of people in the front row you can ask.
Exactly. The whole front row is basically Microsoft people. So, without any further ado, I will leave it to Jon. So, enjoy your conference and hope it's a great opportunity for everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Jon.
Great. Thanks. Good morning. Good morning. This is awesome. We love this event. This is why we come back every year, and it's just great to see the number of hands that went up for the first-time attendees of this event. It's fantastic. I think I've been every year since the event started, and we just keep coming back. And it's really about you. It's really about the community. So, as Saravana said, I really encourage everybody to just get and meet people, talk to the product group, talk to the MVPs who are here. They're all experts. And just dive in and enjoy yourselves. So what I'm going to talk about today is something I'm kind of calling beyond integration. What I wanted to do is really look back at what we've achieved over the last few years. And I just realized I don't have a clicker because Saravana walked off with it. So when you think about it, we set off on this journey several years ago. And from where we're at right now, to know where you're going, you really need to know where you've come from. You really need to understand the mission that we set out to achieve back in 2015, back when we created the Logic Apps team. And the first thing we set out to achieve is really to democratize integration, really to open it up, to take it from being a specialist skill set where only kind of secret knowledge and practitioners who did this full time all the time, we could open this up and provide the same capabilities in a simpler way for different audiences. The second thing we did, we set out, we wanted to be a leader in this space. Microsoft's always been there for the past 20 years. And with various levels of success, not just with BizTalk, but SSIS and other integration products, we really wanted this time to make sure that we got recognized and understood as being heavily invested in this space with you all in terms of what we set out to achieve. And then the third thing was to make sure we built a rich ecosystem around this. And really for us in Logic Apps, this really meant about ubiquitous connectivity, that you didn't have to think about whether we had a connector for that thing, we just had one. There's a connector for that. So how do we do? Well, in terms of democratization, we initially took what we had with Logic Apps and split it into two. So we have the Flow team and we have the Logic Apps team. And this made a lot of sense because we were aiming for these different audiences in the way we democratized. So Flow has the Power Platform, which kind of came at the same time and amalgamated kind of not just Flow, but with Power Apps and with Power BI, gave citizens the ability to report on data, to integrate data, and to build mobile applications, all without writing any code. First-class experiences in Dynamics 365 and Office 365. And I call this Citizen Automator because honestly I didn't know the best thing to call it, because both of these two products kind of can do similar things, but they're directly aimed at different audiences, and that's really the key point. With millions of users today who are using it. And then on the Logic Apps side, we created Azure Integration Services, so bigger than Logic Apps, just in the same way as the Power Platform is bigger than Flow, giving everybody the ability, whether they're in IT or in the business, or even consumers being able to access this technology for the first time and do really interesting things with it. As part of that, we were gold with Logic Apps and being a first-class experience, including Azure Integration Services, obviously being a first-class experience in Azure itself, in our cloud. So really encompassing the three clouds that we have, from Dynamics to Office to Azure. And this is the citizen integrator role. The person who isn't just that specialist anymore, but just needs to get stuff done. Needs to be able to connect things together in much easier ways than they've been able to do before, because the sheer number of things that they need to connect together has just been exploding. So being an expert in everything simply is not an option anymore. But one continuum. You can start from one place and progress. You can start with Flow, you can move to Logic Apps, you can start with a Power Platform and integrate that with Azure as well. So there's no cliffs, there's no sharp edges, there's no way of getting into trouble with this stuff. You can just dive in and start creating and use the pieces that make sense and bring in more over time as it required. So that's democratization. How did we do with the iPaaS leader? Hopefully, some of you are at least aware that last year was the first year we actually made it in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, which is our kind of Bible of enterprise integration platform as a service. And this year we did the same thing, which is just fantastic. It was a real validation for us that we're still going in the right direction with all of you in terms of the capabilities we're shipping and the commitment we're making to this space, that we just continue to invest, we continue to ship new features, and we're going to continue to do all of that. And then the third thing is a rich ecosystem. We have nearly 300 connectors today, far more than we've ever had in the past for any of our server-based products. It's incredible how many connectors we ship every year. And these aren't just Microsoft connectors, but we've also enabled third parties to onboard into our connector ecosystem as well, to be able to take their services, easily and quickly build a connector for that, and onboard not again just for Logic Apps, but for Flow and Power Apps as well, and even Power BI, to be able to connect to whatever you care about, wherever it resides. And we also open sourced a number of connectors, and we'll be continuing to open source more of them as well, to give you access to be able to even make changes to these connectors and do pull requests from GitHub so that you can understand how to build your own connectors and understand how to extend and improve ours as well, which is a fantastic advance that we made in this in the recent months, because that was something that we literally only announced a couple of months ago. You can build your own, of course. You can build your own that you share with your organization, and you can even build your own, and if you're a service owner, then you can onboard those to Azure as well. And of course, there's more on the way. We haven't stopped. We just keep going. So this isn't a quote from me. This is a quote from Yefim Nattis from Gartner, who's become a good friend of ours in terms of helping us figure out what our roadmap should be. And he says this better than I can. The more you innovate, the more you need to integrate. The more things you have, the more important it is that you get better at connecting this stuff together. Because if you don't, you're going to get into problems, because you're going to spend so much time figuring out how to manage all of this stuff that it's just going to slow you down. So it's a really succinct way of saying this. Everyone wants to innovate. Everyone wants to change. I talked about that last year for those of you who were here then. It's like change is this inevitability that you just have to embrace. And the more you embrace it, the more you can innovate. And the more you innovate, the more you can move your business forward. So integration has become so broad and so prevalent and so essential that the meaning of integration itself has changed. So what do I mean by that? When this conference started 8 years ago, as Saravana said, it was really centered around BizTalk. And BizTalk was centered around two things. It was a kind of B2B and EDI and enterprise application integration. These two kind of terms that feel quite dated today, because there's so much more in the space of integration. We have IoT and MDM and ETL and let me think what else, MFT. All these acronyms have sprung up since. And we continue to push the boundaries of what's possible with integration. And as we look even further forward, we start to see actually the notion of how you integrate becoming so distributed. The idea of microservices and other architectures that once you decompose everything to that extent and you move away from these hub and spoke models, integration is really just the blood running through the veins of your organization and your applications. So talking about integration as a thing starts to actually make less sense, because it's all integration. And this is the great thing about being part of this community with all of you, is that this is an awesome place to be in technology today, because it's moving so fast. It's moving so innovatively that the things you can do now, you simply couldn't do 2 or 3 years ago. So, I'm excited, as I hope all of you are, in terms of what you can achieve now with so little resources and so little time. That the intention here is to hear 3 stories from 3 great customers that we've been working with on their journey to transform, democratize, and innovate. So let's look at the first one. So it's my very great pleasure to introduce Ramak, who runs the Integration Competency Center at H&M.
Thank you so much. My name is Rama Robinson, and I'm working at H&M as an area architect with focus on integration. And I've been working within the integration area for about 18 years. Today, I would like to walk you through the H&M's digital transformation and how we are utilizing Microsoft's Azure services in our exciting journey. Now, so a question to you. How many knows about H&M? Okay, great. How many of you wears an H&M today? Okay. Okay. Start buying H&M clothes. So the retail industry, as many other industries, is going through a rapid change. Our customers' demand and behaviors are shifting, and the competition is increasing. Now, H&M was founded by Erland Persson in 1947. You saw him, I think, in the beginning of the movie. He opened his first store in Västerås, and now H&M is a global retail company with 7 brands, and is present in 70 countries, 5,000 stores, and 180,000 employees. So the question is, how are we going to change this global retail company to become agile and competitive? So recently I read this report from McKinsey, State of Fashion, and it's a 108 pages long report, but they have some very interesting points. They say the ones who will succeed will have to come to terms with the fact that in the new paradigm that is taking shape around them, some of the old rules simply don't work. Regardless of size and segment, players now need to be nimble. You need to think digital first and achieve ever faster speed to market. So our customers, H&M customers, they are obsessed with their mobiles. And they want us to become more personal, transparent, and sustainable. So we are going from a shop in store towards giving our customers an omni experience where they can buy H&M clothes wherever they are, which device or channel they're using. Our customers want to buy H&M clothes online, but return it in store. Or they would like to buy H&M clothes on different marketplaces, for example, Tmall or ASOS. We are also proud to say that we are a tech company. That technology is the core driver in our digital transformation. And our CEO, Carl-Johan Persson, mentioned last year that we need to continue invest in our tech foundation. We need to be faster in developing consuming-facing apps, and we also need to broaden our use of technology, for example, cloud. So from being IT has been a supporting organization, we are actually a core enabler in this now. So the H&M vision is to be the most loved design group in the world. Our dream is a future where we can deliver tech with more customer focus. So we want to be faster. We want to be more agile and improve our innovation. So to be a design company, we need to be a technology frontrunner. How much of a technology frontrunner should we be to be competitive? Our technology ambition is based on 6 characteristics. Customer-centric. The technology should enable a seamless, locally personal experience for our customers. Agile. That we need to develop things quickly, and our solution needs to be independent from each other. Open. That it should be easy to communicate with H&M in a secure way. Intelligent. That our the analytical abilities should be advanced, automated, and in real time. Data enabled. That our data should be of high quality and easy to access, and that we need to start using complex data like pictures and movies. And global. That our services should be available anywhere in the world and easy to access. And also we are generating a lot of massive customer data that we need to be able to manage in a cost-efficient manner. These characteristics isn't something we only have on the poster here. We work with them daily. We analyze, trying to find gaps, and invest where it's needed. So, ICC, Integration Competence Center at H&M, is a delivery area with 80 people focusing on architecture, development, and operations. So, we have an advisory service where we help the rest of H&M, IT, H&M, to implement integration solutions that are the best overall for H&M, regardless if you're using ICC platforms or not. But when we develop, we have a development and an operation team to maintain those integrations. We also need to be front runner of new technologies. We need to understand what H&M IT needs, how we can expand our platforms, and deliver on the requirements. Recently, we announced our cloud strategy, which states that H&M Group should run most of its application in cloud within 5 years. Now, this is a very big strategy for us. We have 2,300 applications at H&M today, and most of them are running on-prem. The cloud transition gives us different paths, depending on where you are, and some of them try to leverage on the cloud benefits. So either you choose to retire your application because you don't see any benefit of moving it to cloud, or you retire it because you know that you can replace it with a SaaS application or a cloud-native application. You can choose the quickest way, which is to just change data center, or you can choose the path that requires more effort, which is re-architect. Now, ICC has also a transition path. We see that we will probably replace most of our applications or platforms on-prem to use as much as out-of-the-box services as possible in cloud. So the cloud strategy is very important for us, and that's why it's very important for us also with our cooperations with Microsoft to have a cloud provider that can help us and can help us deliver solutions that are robust, scalable, stable. So yes, the current architecture at ICC, we have the integration platform based on BizTalk that is today running around 630 integrations today. We are using IBM MQ as the messaging service. For the managed file transfer, we are using Seaburger to move large volume of files. We also have an in-house built application, information flow monitoring, to support end-to-end monitoring. Now, we started to use Azure integration services about 3 years ago, or Azure Service Bus and Blob Storage we have used, I think, 4 or 5 years. But we started to look at the Azure API management service about 3 years ago and started to work very tightly with Microsoft to make it enterprise ready for us. And we are running and we are exposing all of our APIs now through the API management service. We are using Logic Apps for some of the solutions, and we also started to use Data Factory. But our target architecture is to use as much as Azure integration services as possible. So we see that we probably will replace our BizTalk with Logic Apps combined with Azure functions. we see that we will probably replace our Seaburger with Data Factory. And moving to cloud, we see that we will probably use more and more API-driven APIs, event-driven APIs. So event-driven architecture is very important. So we are starting to look at Event Grid. I'm thinking about taking you or walking you through a scenario that we are working on today, also very tightly with Microsoft. It's a solution for our digital receipts. So when customers online buy something on H&M, we would like to send that as an email to the customer. But we would also like to store the digital receipts in our DRS system, which is called Digital Receipt Solution, which is developed in Azure. So we store it, and then customer service can access digital receipts from there. The mobile app can pick up the receipts and show it to the customer. The back end of our online platform is SAP today. SAP is an on-premise application with little ability to talk APIs. So we were thinking about how can we make this work? How can we make the receipts from on-prem to go to the DRS system? So we said, okay, SAP, you can continue putting messages on MQ. We created a claim check pattern where they put metadata in MQ and the digital receipt as an FTP on the FTP server, PDF on the FTP server. And then we have logic apps. So logic apps will pick up the messages using the enterprise connector for MQ and the FTP connector. And based on some rules, it will send it both to the DRS system, posting the digital receipts to the DRS API through API management platform, and then also sending the digital receipts, transforming it from XML to JSON and send it to our partner, Adobe Campaign, which is going to email it to our customers. Now, when this solution is live or globally rolled out, it needs to handle 2 million messages a day. And so we started to consider ICE, Integrated Service Environment. I don't know if some of you might know it. It's a dedicated logic apps. It gives us the ability to connect to on-prem without having a gateway. It also gives us the possibility to handle large volume of messages in a cost-efficient manner. So we are still working on this solution together with Microsoft. We have the Microsoft team coming to us on Friday to sit and look through this, to make this solution as robust as possible. This is going live in fall after summer, so we need to have it, we need to make sure that it's stable and scalable. Some design principles that we are working with now in our digital transformation, in our journey to cloud. APIs are our single most important technology to enable the open and the agile characteristics in our technology ambition. Microservices will increase over time and will be a fundamental architecture pattern for us to create solutions that are loosely coupled, functions that we can deploy without changing a monolith. Event-driven APIs for pub/sub pattern. And when we build, we try to build natively using out-of-the-box cloud services. So, H&M is going on an adventure towards known and unknown destinations. What we know is that the ICC role will probably not look the same as it does today. Moving to cloud makes integration to be decentralized. It's very easy for you to spin up an Azure Service Bus and a Logic Apps and do your own thing. So our role would be probably more governance and a guiding role. We also know that the journey will be difficult, but we know that H&M is well positioned. We know that our strategy for moving to cloud and moving and using Azure integration services and other services in Azure will make us be relevant to our customers, will create that business value that we want, make us faster and agile. Again, technology is the core enabler in our digital transformation. But still, we would like to keep the stability, security, and scalability. So, I would like to close this by saying also a statement from the McKinsey report saying, the price for those who adopt might be greater than ever to change, but so are the penalties for those who don't. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ramek. Okay, let's move on to the next pillar here around democratization. I think Ramek's story is a fantastic example of what's happening in retail, and this really critical need to embrace change will be left behind. But democratization itself is also super important. It's another characteristic that she mentioned that you really need in an integration platform to be able to reach all parts of your organization and be able to do this effectively and efficiently. So with that, let's play another video.
In 2050, I believe that all corporations will try to be more responsible towards the environment.
AI takes over the society and everyone lives in a virtual reality.
There will be less old people dying and there will be less of a young workforce, and so workers need to get more efficient.
A world with a much more integrated population in terms of technology and renewable energy. Globalization will play a big role in the future. It will create a more equal world for everyone.
And people will spend more time on their phones as opposed to going out.
I believe that we will start to realize that we cannot keep on consuming Earth's resources and start to be more sustainable.
So it's my great pleasure to introduce Daniel Ferreira.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invite again. My name is Daniel. I work for Shell, and I work as a senior data scientist in the global cybersecurity team. Please raise your hand if you work in cybersecurity. No one. Oh, a couple of them. Yeah. Okay. Thank God. Yeah. So here I'm going to talk about challenges, and we are not that different, right? So we suffer the same challenges than any other company. So we lack resources, we lack money, yeah. We have a lot of products to integrate. Our mandate is to deliver with the speed, and turns out that in an environment where our company is divesting $30 billion in assets and is transforming the business from a traditional oil and gas business to an energy company, and therefore also investing $2 billion per year in new acquisitions. That means that we need to do a lot of integration, right? When it comes to cybersecurity, which is now trending, as you know already, so it's very complex. So from one day to another, for instance, we need to integrate the BG Group company. So probably you know it, British Gas Group. It's a company of 20 plus sites and more than 5,000 employees that Shell acquired, and we need to do integration from one day to another, right? So when it comes to cybersecurity, it's basically at the moment you announce the acquisition, so you are on target, yeah? So then also recently we acquired First Utilities. First Utility is a company in the UK that serve electricity power to the homeowners. So that means that now we are also serving B2C kind of businesses, right? Instead of governments or B2B ones, now we do B2C, right? And turns out we also have a really limited budget. And for that, there is where we decided to go through a API integration platform. So in a way that we can integrate all those companies, okay? We are talking about 30 plus companies per year, new companies, where we need to support all the proxies. They come with multiple VLANs. They come with also multiple EDR solutions, endpoint security solutions. They come also with different configuration in different clouds, maybe. Yeah, so that happens often, right? So therefore, we decided to go to a layer of integration that we have called cybersecurity API, right? And from that unique point of view, we connect to all the systems, right? And then, therefore, we facilitate the work for our people. So why we did this? So basically because we need to go faster, we need to go better, we need to go more efficient, but especially, and this is the important part I would like to mention, turns out that it added a lot of new capabilities that previously we hadn't. Okay, so for instance, when it comes to integrate two companies, but it turns out there is no firewall in between them, there is no integration at all, so we can use PaaS or infrastructure as a service services of Azure to basically like we ship their Docker containers with the Azure on-premises data gateway or Azure automation hybrid workers, and they connect to us, yeah, instead of us to them. That means that the connectivity is outbound only. From a security perspective, that is very important. So normally outbound connectivity is very much a law, but inbound connectivity, you need to go through change management in firewalls, etc. Right? So here I have a visual representation of what the product is. So we have here the on-premises network, okay, and this is the remote site. So it turns out this is times 20, okay. So each remote site can be. So we have plants as well of oil and gas, but we also have new businesses that are being acquired, and in the meantime they are going to be integrated as an IT integrated company. But in the meanwhile, so we integrate them only for cybersecurity operations with these kind of two services, right? So then we have a cybersecurity API, and on top of that we have a bot. But turns out the thing that I would like to highlight here is that for the API we use API management, but turns out that the backend of the API, the entire backend, is just logic apps. Okay, so it's totally serverless and codeless entirely. Even the bot. So because here I'm saying that we're using Azure Bot Framework, that was the initial idea, but turns out we're using a premium connector of logic apps that allow us to do bots or chatbots functionality within logic apps. So you will see, you're going to see a demo right now. So also one of the reasons why we decided to implement API management is because, so when you are talking with a bot, in order to perform a certain action, you expect an answer within 2-3 seconds. Okay, you are a human and you expect an answer. So traditionally in the integration business, so if you have a really heavy work to do, so you don't mind if that thing takes 2 hours. Yeah. But if you are talking with a human, so the human expects an answer immediately. So therefore, we are using the cache feature of API management quite a lot. Okay, here we also have a SIEM. We use Splunk. That is already announced, so it's public already. We ingest a lot of data, of terabytes per day, and then so I'm going to show you here an example, a demo of the chatbot functionality working. So here the bot is installed within 2 channels, either a SharePoint site where our people, so our security people, more than 100 individuals across the world, work on, or within Teams. Okay, so or they have also direct link, which are authenticated link, but most of the time they use Teams. Okay, and then here within Teams, so you can just type help if you don't know what to do. Okay, and the bot will reply. This is the feature that I have implemented right now. So this is our dev tenant, so not all the features are implemented here. Okay, so here I have, for instance, so I can do endpoint security solution actions, okay, that are basically security tools that are installed in the endpoint, like Windows Defender ATP, for instance, or FireEye or Symantec, etc. So, or can also do Splunk integration, right? So the thing is, normally we receive a ton of alerts, right? And those alerts are centralized in a SIEM. How it works, this solution in production, is that at the moment an alert comes up there, you claim the alert to say, hey, I'm going to work in this alert, okay? And then the bot ping you, yeah? So here I present you what I have about this alert, okay? But here, as I don't have right now in the dev tenant Splunk connectivity, I'm going to pull an alert, right? So for that, I'm going to say get alerts, or get my alerts, or whatever. Okay, so it says here natural language because it turns out that at the moment you are typing, you go first to Microsoft LUIS, Language Understanding Intelligence Service, and then Microsoft LUIS tries to tie your sentence to an intent. Yeah, so that is a really powerful solution that we are using from Microsoft. That we use it a lot, and also learns. It learns from other people. So you train the algorithm and eventually get new words. And when you work with individuals I think we have 10 nationalities within the cybersecurity team only. So then people just type different. Yeah. So here, so the bot present me. Let me see. Okay. The bot present me an adaptive card that says, "Oh, this is the event that you just claimed is an event that says, ooh." Okay, it's an event that is a office process spamming a suspicious binary. So it's a macro, basically. That is a really famous entry point for security purposes. And so the thing is, I am presenting with a lot of action here, and I can do whatever I want. But the bot says, and this is a training, a machine, so there is a machine learning model that is already trained, and all these features, so we transform the signature feature, the user feature, destination feature, and then we do text transformation here to convert this node into a feature set, okay, for machine learning, and then we apply that, and then it turns out that the vast majority of the people in the past have seen this event as a true positive. Therefore, the bot helps you already with saying, hey, there is 98% of chances this is a true positive. And because of that, the bot, at the moment the alert went up in Splunk, the bot already did something. So for you, okay? That translates in API actions to GET requests, okay? That do not change anything. So for instance, if I do here triage, submit, okay? So here normally I will tell you that normally I need 2 hours to explain this, but I here have 15 minutes and 5 minutes left. So, so here the bot presents me basically what we call a triage is basically a compilation of compilation of events that happen in the endpoint a couple of minutes before the event happened and a couple of minutes after the event of interest, right? So that is a manual job. So our security analyst needs to go to the proxy, recompile the URLs browsed, okay, to the endpoint directly to the URL browse history, okay. There are also some PowerShell logs, etc. Recompile that evidence. That takes time. Okay, so we are talking about multiple products, especially because we have 200,000 endpoints. So you expect that we don't have one single controller where all the endpoints beacon out, right? So we have multiple, one for Americas, one for Europe, one from Asia. So we need to, where is that asset? Oh, in Asia. So then we need to log into the Asia PAC controller and grab that information, right? So the bot does that for me. So we call that mundane tasks. Okay, and that's what the bot does, automate and orchestrate the mundane, okay? So here it says a couple of information about the asset. So it's a in an India-based computer, the criticality is normal, this is the owner, etc. And here presents me another adaptive card that says, okay, so you can just download it, okay? Previously, so the time that this operation needed was 18 minutes. So the bot also calculates or summarize the amount of minutes that you are saving, okay, by using this technology for automation and orchestration. So here and also says, do you want me to add it to the ServiceNow ticket? And then if you do that, so it will add the evidences also to the ticket. So in this case, I'm going to click no. And real quick, in my last 3 minutes, I'm going to also kick off another action that, for instance, says, just get me information about this asset. Yeah. Okay, so now it's requesting where that asset is. So I didn't provide the location, I didn't provide in which company that asset is. Yeah, it didn't provide if the asset is in Americas or in Europe whatsoever, and then it's just checking, just finding that out, okay? And then, so I'm going to, in the meanwhile, I'm going to show you how that logic app works, okay? So here's the logic app in zoom out, because this logic app, the particularity is that it goes to on-premises, okay? It's really unfair to say that the API, so that the logic app goes to on-premises is the other way around. So here you can see that the bot itself is being triggered here using a Microsoft LUIS implementation with this premium connector. Then it does some magic, okay, parse the HTML to text, etc. Send reply to the user, yeah, working on it, yeah, checking on FireEye controllers where that asset is, and then it executes another logic app, okay, that basically discover where that asset is, okay, then parse the JSON. There is some improvement opportunities here I learned yesterday. Okay, send reply to the user. This is the asset. Here you can see that the bot already replied and says, this host has alerts. Do you want to list the alerts? So you can click yes, and then it turns out that you are being presented with the alerts that this endpoint has. Okay, so here you can see that the bot does a lot of things, and at the end, this is the most important part. So here is where the alerts are being pulled, and this is an Azure automation connector, and basically executes. So it waits for the operation to be performed. So this is a mechanism where the bot, the logic app, is waiting for an Azure automation playbook to run on premises, okay? And it's basically waiting there until the operation completed. When that happens, okay, the Azure automation worker will ping back to the cloud to say, hey, I am ready, I finished it. So here I am grabbing the output, I'm parsing, doing some magicking, formatting in an HTML table, replying to the user the HTML table, and then saying the user or asking the user, these alerts looks ugly. Yeah? Do you want to contain the asset? Then a condition happened, etc. So you presented a yes/no button to the user, etc. So indeed, I need 2 hours to present this with all the features because it's very complex, but I will be around for questions. So whenever you see me, so you can ask for more features that we're implementing. With that, come back to you, John.
Thanks, Daniel. Thank you. You know, another great example of sort of non-traditional IT. You know, I love this because, you know, it's true democratization. Daniel isn't a developer that works on project teams in traditional IT infrastructure. He's a security expert trying to keep his company secure. And realizing that he has access to these tools now with Azure Integration Services to be able to create something and automate some of the things he has to do given the vast amounts of data he's got. Again, something that just was never possible until we launched Logic Apps and API management and all these other services just in the last few years. So, what's next? The next pillar is innovation. You know, each one of these companies, I should say, probably exhibits all three of these. They're all going through change and transformation, they're all using democratization and all innovating on our platform. But this one is super interesting to me, that this is a company that didn't even exist, a year or so ago, and they built a new bank in the last 6 months. So with that, I'll give him no further introduction. He can explain this himself. I'd like to bring Vibor up on stage. Hello. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. You hear me loud and clear? Cool, all right. So I'm Vibor Mathur. I'm the lead architect at Anglo Gulf Trade Bank. I'm going to be talking about a story which I believe is quite disruptive, and it's quite challenging as well. And the story is around trade finance. How many of you in the room know what trade finance is? Show of hands. 1, 2. Okay, all right, no worries. I anyways wanted to talk about it. So, so trade finance is basically introducing a third party between an importer and an exporter to facilitate trading and also to assume credit risks on supply and credit side. Yeah. So what is the problem with trade finance? At the moment, the trade financing market, a lot of transactions, or at least 60% of the transactions get rejected because of inefficient IT systems or lack of IT systems, or because of fragmented customer data. And you know what the value of those transactions is? It is $1.5 trillion. Yeah. So that's where these two partners, one UK based and one Abu Dhabi based, they decided to get together, and they wanted to cash upon this opportunity and come up with a bank which is be a trade finance bank. Yeah. But the challenge was to set the bank up in 6 months. Yeah, and we're talking about bringing up a bank in 6 months. And the reason was that, nobody wants to leave $1.5 trillion on the table, by the way. Yeah. So this was an opportunity. We wanted to take the first mover advantage, and we wanted to build something up very, very quickly, which would be the first of its kind digital trade finance bank with no physical branch anywhere. We also wanted the bank to run at an operating cost which would be 1/100th the cost of a traditional bank. We wanted to come up with an architecture which was quite lean, but yet flexible enough so that it could integrate with the systems of our vendors and partners. And we also wanted a business operations team, a thin and lean business operations team, because we didn't want to have a very high operating costs. Yeah, so these were some of the visions that we set for ourselves. Also, at the inception, we wanted to put some very, very strong foundational design principles in place. The first one being to have a single version of truth. This is a problem that most of the banks in the world are dealing with. Yeah, the data in the banks is so spread across multiple systems that banks are spending millions and millions of dollars to just assimilate that data, put that into a common data store, so that something meaningful in terms of analytics and insights could be done on top of that. Yeah. But since we are starting a greenfield implementation, we wanted to incorporate this principle at the very beginning. The other thing that we wanted to do was, we wanted to have a ways of working which is more aligned towards the agile approach of working. And this is not just to do with the IT solution or the IT technology delivery. We wanted to run the entire bank in an agile manner, wherein, business users can think of business workflows in an agile manner, look at a short scope, deliver it, learn from the failures, and iterate upon it and continue to improve and evolve. That's the method of delivery that we wanted. We also wanted to optimize the cost of operations, as we just saw in the previous one. And we wanted to automate as much as possible and wherever possible. Yeah. And obviously, we wanted an architecture which is lean, which is modular, which is upgradable, but at the same time, very, very secure, because we were talking about building a bank. Yeah. And all of that, by the way, had to be done in 6 months. Yeah? So what happened? How did we really get about doing this? One of the other things that we wanted to also follow, it's more like a design principle itself, is that we didn't want to invest too much in building or coding for something which has already been done. So a problem that has already been solved by somebody else in the market, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel there. And hence, this entire platform is a huge, huge integration challenge, because we decided to go with a lot of commercially off-the-shelf available products. At the moment, there are about 10 to 12 COT systems that are running, which have no idea about what the other system does. And hence, we kind of built an entire integration layer using Azure Integration Services. And the heart of the system is, Logic Apps, Service Bus, and API management. Then we wanted to put certain strong engineering principles in place. And, so for example, things like DevOps, we didn't want that to be an afterthought. We incorporated DevOps right from the beginning. So we use Azure DevOps to manage our repositories. We use them to run our CI/CD pipelines, and also to do some code quality reports and present some nice dashboards. But to do all of this stuff, we fundamentally needed to have a strong team in place as well. Yeah. When we started in August 2018, we started with a core group of 9 people. Yeah, and then we realized that to do all of this stuff in a short span of time, we really need to have a very strong focused team in place, and we started to fire our hiring and staffing engines, and we kind of managed to scale up from 9 to about 100 in roughly 8 weeks. Yeah, which I think is pretty incredible, so to say. Um, then the fact that we're building a bank, security is of utmost importance. Yeah, the first challenge or the biggest challenge that we had was that we were trying to build the entire platform using as much of PaaS as possible. Yeah, platform as a service offerings from Azure. And we wanted to bring all of them under a network boundary, which is within a VNet. Yeah, so that's where we use the Logic Apps integrated service environment, and that came us to that kind of, and thanks to Matt and team, because when we started using ISE, it was not in GA, and we worked very closely with Matt and Kevin to help us iron out all of our initial onboarding onto that. We also wanted a seamless way to manage our identities. So from an authentication and authorization perspective, we wanted a place where we wanted a service which could offer us multi-factor authentication, which could offer us single sign-on capabilities. So we leveraged Azure Active Directory, and in fact, we kind of used multiple flavors of Azure AD. We used B2B for partner integration. We used B2C for managing the identities for our client customers. Yeah. And we used Azure Security Center from a threat protection and general security onboarding and detection and operations perspective. That was on the security side. We also had some very unique requirements on making the bank highly available, because we had restrictions on which region we can operate upon. There were kind of regulatory guidelines which prohibited the bank to operate from certain regions versus certain others. And really what we wanted to have was the ability to simulate failover, specifically when the platform is extremely PaaS oriented. Yeah. So what came in very handy here was the ability of simulating the failover on Azure storage accounts, on Azure Cosmos, and Azure SQL database. And obviously, one of the other things that we wanted to focus on very heavily was the observability of the platform. We wanted to aggregate all the logs from all the services into a single platform, and we used log analytics for that. We also, we at the moment we have written multiple queries on top of log analytics, and queries are bound to alert. So in case something critical happens in the logs, we are able to, see an alert, and we are able to take actions accordingly. We also wanted a centralized place where we could put in all our monitoring rules in place. Yeah, and we wanted to monitor the platform seamlessly across IaaS, across PaaS, and so on and so forth, for which we've used Azure Monitor. And we've used the Azure portal dashboards to come up with some nice and slick dashboards very quickly. But what is the outcome of all of this? What do you think the outcome was? Did we manage to build the bank in 6 months? Any guesses? Yeah, we did. We just took 18 days more than 6 months, and we stood the bank up. Basically, this was the MVP scope delivered, and this is more like a soft launch. As we stand today, the bank is in production, and we are live. We have a certain targeted set of customers which are more partners to us. We have them onboarded. Yeah. So what does the future look like from here? Well, this is what we call as the 3 Rs. We want to focus on 3 things. One is resilience, the other is relevance, and the third one is readiness for future. So from a resilience perspective, we're working on making our security, the security of the bank, more robust. We have been using Azure Security Center. We're exploring Azure Sentinel, and we want to introduce next-gen firewalls onto the bank's perimeter. From a relevance perspective, we want to, the industry that we are in, we have a lot of discrete types of organizations because we're talking about importers, exporters, not as individual ones, but so it's more like a B2B business. But the systems that are being used across the organizations are very, very discrete and bespoke. So we want to run a lean and thin team which is focused towards doing POCs for those kind of integrations with different kind of known systems. We want to be ready for the future. And we've decided to open up our APIs so that more and more people, more and more partners can come and test our platform and integrate with us, explore the services that we are providing. But most importantly, we are absolutely focusing on onboarding more and more customers because we want to see this platform being leveraged by more and more people, so that we cash upon the huge opportunity that we were looking at, cash opportunity. That's pretty much on the story from my side, guys. I'll be more than happy to have discussions with you if you want to understand anything more on AGTB, around the technology, or anything else. I'm here for the day, so happy to meet you. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Three amazing customers, and the common thread running between them is what I started with. These companies have, across energy and retail and finance, are reinventing their own industries, are taking control and driving their businesses and their industries forward. Using our technology, we're super proud and super thrilled that these companies have chosen Microsoft to partner with to build these experiences. From leaving $1.5 trillion on the table. I don't know what kind of table you've got, but mine would collapse if you put $1.5 trillion on it. To H&M kind of taking the digital transformation, really embracing that and looking at what the future of retail experience should look like. Through to Shell, where the very nature of energy and what customer demands in energy and the way it's delivered is also changing while moving to the cloud and also protecting themselves from it. To take advantage of this. So when we look back at our goals 4 years ago and what we were trying to achieve, from building these partner ecosystems, these companies are doing the same thing because none of us live in a vacuum. These companies need this connectedness. They need to be their own leaders in their own spaces, just as we set out to do. So, I thank all of these people, and what I will leave you with is one final question that I'll put it over to you, that it's now your turn. When are you going to start not just integrating or automating or migrating? How are you going to accelerate and modernize, disrupt, and what are you going to change? Because we all need to create. We all have the tools at our disposal, so what are you going to create? Thank you. And have a great Integrate.
Covey.co